We moved into number 12 on Cranberry Hill in the middle of a snowstorm. I remember the way the flakes fell so heavily they looked like ash, and the sky had that sickly orange hue that comes from street lamps trying to pierce through a blizzard. My wife, Lacey, was 8 months pregnant, and despite my concerns about timing, she insisted we make the move before the new year. The house was a charming brick duplex with ivy-covered walls and a crooked mailbox. Rent was absurdly low for the area, but the landlord said it was because it had been vacant for a while, for years, to be exact. I didn't ask why. The only odd thing about it was the red door in the basement. A perfectly smooth, firetruck red door that didn't match anything else in the house. It had no handle. No hinges. Just sat flush against the cement wall, like someone had painted a rectangle directly onto the stone. Lacey hated it from the start. She said it gave her chills. Said the baby kicked every time she was near it. I told her it was probably just a utility panel or some sealed crawlspace. Still, I never liked going down there either. The air around that red door always felt wrong. The first week was uneventful. Cold. Quiet. Almost peaceful. But then the power started cutting out. Every night at 2:13 a.m. Not 2:12. Not 2:14. Always 2:13. It would flicker off, then back on 10 seconds later. At first, I thought it was faulty wiring. But the electrician said the system was clean as a whistle and had no timer or surge activity at that time. Lacey started having nightmares. She'd wake up sweating, clutching her belly, whispering, "Don't open the red door. Don't open it." I hadn't told her, but I'd already tried. It didn't budge. Not even a centimeter. Then came the knocking. It started faint, barely audible. 3 knocks. Slow. Heavy. They came from below. Not the front door. Not the walls. The basement. And always at the same time, 2:13 a.m., just as the power blinked out. After the 4th night, I stayed up, waiting. When the knock came, I grabbed a flashlight and crept down the stairs. I stood in front of the red door, my breath visible in the freezing air. 3 more knocks. They came from the other side. My flashlight flickered. Something metallic rattled from deep within the wall. I backed up the stairs, too terrified to move closer. And when I got back to the living room, I found Lacey standing there, eyes wide open, still asleep. She whispered, "Don't feed it." A few days later, we started hearing voices through the vents. Children laughing. But distorted, like an old cassette tape being chewed. We didn't have a stereo. Or neighbors with kids. One night, the laughing turned into crying. Then screaming. Then whispers again, this time saying my name. "Jason, come down." I called the landlord. He didn't answer. I drove to the rental office. It was abandoned. Vacant for 2 years, according to the leasing office across the street. When I gave them the address, number 12 on Cranberry Hill, the woman behind the desk just stared at me. That place was condemned in 2019. I drove home shaking. That night, the red door was open. No handle. No hinges. Just open. Inside, it was pitch black. I shined my flashlight into it. No floor. Just a drop. And a ladder, old and rusted, leading downward into the dark. I heard breathing. Deep. Wet. hungry. And I swear to God, I saw something slither away from the light. Something long, pale, with too many joints. I slammed the door shut. Or tried to. It resisted. Like something pushed back. When it finally shut, it sealed tight, again, no handle, no lock. Just a red rectangle. Lacey refused to go downstairs after that. I didn't blame her. 3 nights before her due date, I found a note tucked under our bedroom door. Childlike handwriting. No envelope. It said, "One must stay." That night, she went into labor. Too early. Too sudden. The ambulance couldn't get up the hill due to the snow. I delivered the baby myself. A boy. Perfect. Silent. Eyes wide open. He never cried. Not once. But something was wrong with him. He'd stare at the basement. Not just glance. Stare. For hours. He'd smile when the power cut out. He started crawling at 2 weeks. One morning, I found him in the hallway, sitting upright, facing the basement door. He was humming. A song I didn't know, but recognized anyway. From my nightmares. From the vents. From the voice that whispered in the walls. It was a lullaby. I told Lacey we had to leave. She said she couldn't. She held the baby like he was the only thing that mattered. Like he was hers, but not really. Like she was his. I packed a bag. Said we'd go together. She refused. The red door was open again that night. Wide. Waiting. I begged her not to go near it. She smiled and walked toward it, cradling the baby, and said, "He's home now." Then stepped inside. The door closed behind her. No sound. No wind. Just gone. I've lived in motels ever since. Can't go back. Tried once. House was boarded up. The number 12 painted over with black tar. But I still dream. Of that red door. Of my wife. Of our son. Still humming. And waiting. Because I think the house doesn't want people. It wants families. And the worst part? Every time I fall asleep, I hear the knocks. 3 of them. Right on the inside of my skull. At exactly 2:13 a.m. And now, every morning when I wake up, there's red paint on my hands.
I never believed in haunted houses. I figured those were stories people told to explain things they didn't understand. Faulty wiring, creaky floors, old plumbing. But after what happened on Merrow Lane, I don't think I'll ever set foot in another house built before 1980. My wife and I bought the place in the fall of 2022. We were both burned out from city life and wanted a fresh start somewhere quiet. She was pregnant with our first child, and the thought of raising our kid in a small town seemed peaceful. The listing was too good to be true. For bedrooms, 2 stories, big backyard, half the market value. And the house was beautiful, classic colonial with ivy crawling up the brick. A little worn down, but nothing we couldn't handle. We signed the papers in less than a week. That was our first mistake. The weirdness started before we even moved in. Our real estate agent handed us the keys with a weird look on her face. She hesitated before saying, "Just keep the basement locked at night, for the baby's sake." I laughed, thought it was a weird joke. My wife didn't. The first night we slept there, I woke up to the sound of knocking. 3 soft knocks, coming from inside the walls. I got up, thinking maybe it was pipes or raccoons in the attic. But the sound followed me, no matter where I stood. It was always on the other side of the wall, like something was walking in the drywall. Then we found the first note. It was stuck to the inside of the fridge, folded perfectly. It said, in a child's handwriting, "Don't go downstairs." Neither of us wrote it. We had no visitors. 2 days later, I decided to check out the basement. I didn't tell my wife, because she'd already been uneasy since that first night. The basement door was stuck, swollen with age. I had to shoulder it open. Inside, it was colder than anywhere else in the house. No windows, concrete floor. It smelled like wet earth and bleach, and there were carvings on the support beams, symbols I didn't recognize, circles, crosses, letters that didn't match any language I knew. I took pictures, planned to Google them later, but as I climbed the stairs back up, I heard whispering. It wasn't clear, just breath, like someone whispering directly into my ear. I turned around. No one. Later that night, I dreamed I was trapped in the basement. My wife was pounding on the door upstairs, but I couldn't open it. The walls started closing in. The symbols lit up in red, and I heard the voice of a child saying, "He's under the floor." Our dog, Murphy, started acting strange. He wouldn't go near the back corner of the yard. He'd bark at it, snarl, and sometimes even piss himself just looking that way. I tried walking him over there, and he whimpered like a puppy and clawed at his leash to escape. One morning I found a dead rabbit on the porch. His body was twisted, every bone shattered inward, like it had been crushed in someone's fist. No blood, no prints, just placed there. Then I found the second note, tucked under Murphy's water bowl. It said, "He doesn't like animals." We painted the nursery yellow, cheerful, bright, nothing scary. But when we set up the baby monitor, we started getting alerts at night. Movement, sound. We'd open the app and see nothing. Until one night, the camera flickered and for just a second we saw something. A face, pressed up against the crib bars. Pale, eyeless, smiling, then gone. We checked the room. Nothing. Windows locked. But the smell, it was there again. Wet earth and bleach. That same night I found another note, this one in the crib. It read, "He wants your baby." I started hearing voices at night, not whispering, clear speech. They'd say things like, "She's not safe here. You brought it in with you. There's something buried." I asked my wife if she'd heard anything. She broke down crying. She said she'd been hearing them too, but didn't want me to think she was crazy. That's when I started digging. Literally. In the basement, there was a spot where the concrete had hairline cracks. I pried it up with a crowbar. Underneath was dirt, and under that dirt was a wooden box. Inside the box, baby clothes, rotting, old, and a tooth, a human tooth, but not just one. I kept digging and found an entire jawbone. I called the police anonymously. They never came. I left the box outside. In the morning, it was gone, and in its place, another note. She was his. That night, everything escalated. Murphy disappeared. We found his collar in the hallway, soaked in something dark and sticky. The walls started bleeding actual blood. We thought we were hallucinating, but we took pictures, and they were real. The nursery door slammed shut. We couldn't open it. We heard crying from inside, but our baby hadn't even been born yet. Then came the screaming. From inside the walls, voices, male, female, children, all screaming at once. "Get out! Give it back! She's ours!" The house shook. Lights blew out. Every door locked itself. We huddled in the bathroom until sunrise. The mirror cracked while we were in there. On the other side, in the reflection, I swear we saw someone watching us. From inside the mirror. The next morning, everything was normal. Too normal. Clean. Quiet. No blood. No scratches. Even the baby monitor was blank. But we didn't wait. We packed everything we could in an hour and left. We sold the house back to the bank. Took a huge loss. Didn't care. 2 weeks later, I looked up the address online. Found an article from 1964. Family found dead in home on Merrow Lane. Infant missing. Basement ritual suspected. The symbols I saw in the basement were from an old cult. The Order of the Hollow Child. No one ever found the baby. We never told anyone what really happened. Until now. But sometimes, at night, I still hear knocking. 3 soft knocks. From inside the walls. And I keep finding notes. Each one in different handwriting. Each one older than the last. The last one I read before burning it said, "He's not done with you." And I believe it. Because the house on Merrow Lane wasn't haunted. It was hungry.
I had just gone through a rough divorce and wanted to start over, somewhere quiet. Somewhere away from people. So when I found the small, secluded cottage on Bridget House Lane, nestled deep in the New Hampshire woods, I thought it was perfect. The rent was cheap, the view was gorgeous, and the nearest neighbor was nearly a mile away. Just trees, birds, and silence. The landlord didn't say much. He just handed me the keys and said, "Just make sure you're inside before dark." I thought he was joking. He wasn't. The first few days were peaceful. I chopped firewood, drank coffee on the porch, watched deer move through the trees. I even started writing again. It was supposed to be healing. But I started noticing something strange around the 3rd night. Right at dusk, maybe 6:45 p.m., I get this heavy feeling in my chest. Like something was watching me. The forest, once serene, turned oppressive. The birds would stop singing. The wind would go still. And the trees themselves seemed to lean in just slightly. Like they were listening. And then I began seeing them. Figures. Always in the same 3 places, at the edge of the tree line, on the ridge behind the house, and in the reflection of the pond. They never moved. Just stood there. Watching. At first, I told myself it was shadows, tricks of the light. I stopped drinking wine at night. Stopped taking sleep meds. But on the 6th night, I saw one up close. I had gone outside to grab firewood from the shed when I saw it standing near the porch. It was tall, at least 7 feet, gaunt, with limbs too long for its body. It didn't have a face, not one I could make out. Just empty space where eyes and a mouth should be. And it was swaying. Slightly. Like it was breathing. I backed inside and locked the door. The next morning, there were footprints, bare, human-like but too long, leading up to the window of my bedroom. Just one set. Coming in. None going out. I called the landlord. Told him what I saw. He was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "You've seen them now. They'll keep coming back." He wouldn't explain who they were. Just said, "Don't go outside after sundown. Ever. And cover your mirrors." That night I did exactly what he said. But I forgot one mirror. The one in the hallway. Around 2 a.m., I woke up to a sound, like someone dragging their fingers across glass. I got out of bed and walked toward the hallway. The mirror was fogged, like someone had breathed on it. In the center of the fog was a message. It said, "We see you now." I covered the mirror with a sheet and sat awake the rest of the night with a knife in my hand. The next few days, they came closer. I could hear them outside, breathing, whispering. And one night, I swear I saw one watching me from inside the house, its reflection standing behind me in a mirror I'd already covered. I ripped every reflective surface out of the cottage. Windows, even the screen on my phone. I lived in near darkness, avoiding anything that could show a reflection. Still, they watched. One morning, I found something nailed to my front door. It was a wooden plaque. On it, burned into the wood, was an outline of the house, and inside it, a stick figure. Me. Outside the house, dozens of other figures, etched with deep gashes in the wood. Surrounding it. I burned the plaque. Tried to leave. My truck wouldn't start. I walked into the forest toward the road, but the paths kept shifting. I'd walk for half an hour and end up right back at the house. My GPS spun in circles. No signal. It felt like the forest was folding in on itself. That night, I heard scratching inside the walls. Then from under the floorboards. Then from inside the closet. I didn't sleep. At dawn, I found a note on my kitchen table in unfamiliar handwriting. "You belong to the Watchers now." The next day, the power went out. The sun set early, like unnaturally early, and I was left in near total darkness. I lit candles, tried to stay calm. But as the light flickered, I saw one of them inside the house. Just standing. By the front door. Its limbs scraped the ceiling. It didn't move. It didn't breathe. But its head tilted, just slightly. Watching. I ran into the bathroom and locked the door. There were no mirrors. I waited until morning. But when I opened the door, the thing was gone. In its place was a message written in ash across the floor. "You let us in." After that, things changed. Time didn't feel right. Some nights felt like days. I started losing time. I'd find myself in the attic, with no memory of how I got there. Once, I woke up with my hands covered in soil. Another time, I found old Polaroid photos on the kitchen counter, pictures of me sleeping, taken from the ceiling. But the worst was the whispering. It became clearer. Voices calling me by name. Saying things like, "You were chosen. Bridget House remembers. You're not the first." I started finding newspaper clippings nailed to the trees behind the cottage. Old, yellowed stories. All different families. All different decades. Same location. Same address. Every story ended the same. Disappearance. No bodies found. Suspected mental breakdown. I think I was supposed to become one of them. Another story. Another name added to the woods. But I didn't let it end that way. One night, just before midnight, I set fire to the cottage. Everything. My clothes, journals, even my ID. I ran until the smoke vanished behind the trees. I found a highway the next morning. A couple picked me up, said I looked like I hadn't slept in weeks. I hadn't. Now, I live in a high-rise in the middle of a city. Lights everywhere. No trees. No silence. But the Watchers, they don't need forests. Sometimes I wake up to fog on my windows from the inside. And sometimes I hear whispering through the vents. And sometimes I catch reflections where there shouldn't be any. Because once they've seen you, We moved to Hollow Pine because we needed a new start. After a messy divorce and a custody battle that nearly broke me, I wanted something quiet for my daughter, Ava. She was 7, quiet herself, and more mature than most kids her age. The house was at the end of the cul-de-sac, surrounded by towering pine trees and dense woods that made the backyard look like it stretched forever. It was brand new, still smelled like fresh paint and sawdust. The builder had gone bankrupt mid-project, so we got it cheap. I didn't ask questions. I should have. The first few nights were peaceful. Ava and I unpacked, painted her room lavender, and built a little reading nook under the staircase. She loved it. Said it felt like a secret cave. I thought we were finally okay. Until she started talking to someone. At first, it was innocent, giggling from her room, long pauses in conversation when I peeked in. "Who are you talking to, sweetie?" She'd just smile. "The girl on the wall." I laughed. Thought it was imagination. I used to have imaginary friends too. But the laughing didn't stop when Ava left the room. Sometimes it got louder. Sometimes, I swear it was 2 voices. One night, I was in bed scrolling through emails when I heard a thump. Then another. Coming from the staircase. I crept out and peeked down the hallway. Ava's bedroom door was wide open. And the reading nook beneath the stairs was dark. I whispered her name. Nothing. I inched closer. She was sitting cross-legged inside the nook, facing the wall. Murmuring. Her voice soft. Like she was repeating something. "What are you doing?" I asked, trying not to startle her. She turned slowly and said, "She says this used to be her house. But she doesn't like you here." I brushed it off. Bad dream. Childish fantasy. Whatever. Until I found the drawings. Hundreds of them. Taped to the back of her closet wall. Each one done in black crayon, shaky hands. They showed a girl with long black hair and white eyes, standing in corners, under beds, behind me in the kitchen. One drawing showed her inside my room, watching me sleep. Another one showed Ava holding hands with her. In one final drawing, it showed me. Lying in bed. With red scribbles all around my neck. I brought it up with Ava. She didn't get scared. She didn't deny it. She said, her name is Ellie. She died when the walls were still full of wires. She wants to be real again. I didn't sleep that night. I walked the entire house, shining a flashlight into every vent, crawl space, attic beam. Nothing. Until I opened the breaker panel. Taped to the inside, a piece of notebook paper. "You shouldn't have brought her here." The next day, Ava was different. Not angry. Not sad. Just blank. She sat in the corner, drawing, muttering, unblinking for hours. At exactly 3:33 a.m., I woke up to the sound of humming. That same lullaby again. The one from Ava's music box. Only it was distorted. Slowed down. Deepened. I followed the sound downstairs. No lights would turn on. In the living room, all the furniture had been moved. Pushed against the walls, forming a circle in the center of the room. Ava was sitting in the middle. Eyes closed. And whispering in a voice that wasn't hers. "She's under the floor now." But not for long. I screamed. Rushed to grab her. But the floor beneath me opened. Not physically. Not with boards cracking. It was like a vertigo drop, sudden, dark, and impossible. I saw images flash, fire. Screams. Nails being driven into wood. A girl banging on a wall from the inside. A woman whispering, "Take her instead." Then I was on the floor. Everything was normal. Except Ava wasn't breathing. The hospital said it was a seizure. No history. No warning. She came to the next morning. But she didn't speak. Didn't move. Just stared at me. And smiled. It wasn't Ava's smile. I moved us out that night. She fought me. Screamed like I was ripping her away from something vital. The house stayed dark as we drove away. But I saw someone in the upstairs window. Not Ava. Not me. Someone else. Hair long. Eyes white. And that smile. We live in a different state now. Ava's getting better, slowly. But sometimes, when she's asleep, I hear scratching. Coming from the walls. And every time I throw away one of those black crayon drawings, it comes back. Folded neatly under her pillow. Signed in shaky handwriting. I miss my house. We moved into 13, Graven Hollow Drive in the spring of 2021. My wife, Elena, was 6 months pregnant, and I had just landed a remote job with great pay. We were ecstatic. The house was newly built, in a quiet, gated community on the edge of town. Clean streets. Well lit. Immaculate lawns. The kind of place where bad things didn't happen. But it started the first night. Not loud or obvious, just subtle. Every door in the house closed a little too slowly. Every mirror seemed half a second behind your movements. And the hall light? It flickered in perfect intervals, every 7 seconds. I joked it was haunted. Elena didn't laugh. By the third night, I found something under the front doormat, a crumpled envelope, yellowed with age. No postage. No return address. Just one sentence, typed in faded ink. He comes when the deed is signed. I assumed it was a prank. Threw it away. But the next night, a second envelope appeared on our bedroom dresser. Same paper. Same type. The house was not as to sell. That night, Elena woke up screaming. She said she dreamed of someone whispering from beneath the floorboards. A man with black eyes and no teeth, crawling toward the crib we hadn't even built yet. I didn't tell her about the notes. Didn't want to scare her more than she already was. But when I went to brush my teeth the next morning, the mirror was fogged, though I hadn't turned on the water. Written in the condensation was a single word. Ours. Things escalated quickly after that. Our security system would chirp at random. Motion detected in the backyard. On the roof. In the nursery. Always between 2 and 3 a.m. Once, I checked the baby monitor app and caught a glimpse of something standing at the foot of our bed. It wasn't Elena. And it wasn't me. I installed cameras. Every room. Every hallway. That night, I sat and watched the feeds until I passed out. At exactly 2:43 a.m., the camera in the nursery glitched. It went black for 4 seconds. When it came back, the crib was rocking. No baby in it yet. Just rocking. Softly. Rhythmically. like something invisible was soothing a child. I started digging. County records. Developer paperwork. Realtor documents. Turns out the house was built on top of an unfinished property from the 1940s. The original builder, Elias Graven, had died in a fire halfway through construction, burned alive in the basement after accusing his investors of stealing the land from him. He left a single page behind in his chart office. I won't leave. Not until it's mine again. The next envelope came under the baby's changing table. Inside was a key. Old. Iron. Rusted. Didn't fit anything in the house. Attached to it was a scrap of linen, blood-stained. On it, in red ink. He wants the child. I confronted the developer. Drove to their office unannounced. They denied everything. Until I said Elias Graven's name. The project manager turned white. He whispered that some contracts aren't written in ink. He told me, off the record, that 5 families had moved into that lot before us. None lasted more than a year. One couple disappeared completely. Another left in the middle of the night, leaving every belonging behind. All because of the figure in the hall. The man with no eyes. No voice. Only hunger. Elena went into labor early. We rushed to the hospital. She screamed the whole way there, not from pain. From fear. She said she saw someone in the rearview mirror. Crawling across the backseat ceiling, whispering to our unborn son. They sedated her. The baby was born healthy. But when I held him, his eyes were wide open. And he wasn't crying. Just staring. At the corner of the delivery room. Where no one stood. We moved the next day. Didn't pack. Didn't clean. We drove to a motel and never returned. Sold the house online, anonymously, to an investor group. But 3 weeks later, a package arrived at our new apartment. No return address. Inside was a contract. The original deed to 13, Graven Hollow Drive. And a note. Until the debt is paid, he'll follow the name on the line. It was signed. By me. I didn't remember signing it. But the signature matched. And now, every night at 2:43 a.m., the hallway light flickers. 7 seconds apart. Like it did in that house. And last night, I heard someone in the nursery whisper. This one's mine. And my son. He smiled. Not like a baby. Like a man.